I've started the recording, so anybody who listens to this later, welcome to my chat. This is just an opportunity for me to share some information about things that are going on in the district and give folks who tune in an opportunity to share questions, concerns, thoughts, experiences that are related to the district. And so welcome to you, Barbara, for being here tonight, and for anyone else who tunes in later. I kind of wanted to start off with a little bit of a check-in, and since it's just you, Barbara, I'll just throw it out to you. But hopefully you and your family made it through the storm just fine, and with the power out. What's your story?
We actually were without power for 3 days.
Oh my gosh!
And we live right in Smoky Point, so that's never been an experience that we've had before. So we had no power, no heat, because we don't have any backup. We didn't have any generator, nothing. So it was pretty rough for us. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we were only out at my place, and I live down in Snohomish, but we were out at my place for just about a day, so it wasn't too bad. So I can't, compared to most everyone, I can't complain. We were out for a day and we made it work, and power came back on at dinner time on Saturday night. We were happy about that, but it was horrible thinking about everybody whose power was out, and then worrying about school on Monday, because we didn't have power come on in the schools until it was about 12:30. It's probably about 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock. I was out, I can't remember now, because I was out in Lakewood at that point when the power came on. And it was kind of funny, actually, because I had pulled up to Cougar Creek. I'd driven by the high school and the power was on, and I guess it went off again briefly. By the time I got up to Cougar Creek, the power was on there and the alarms were going off. I mean, it was loud in the neighborhood when I pulled up. The alarms were going off, and then there was nobody there at that point but me. So I went in the building and just tried to turn the alarm off, but I think I ended up setting another alarm off in the process. So then a siren started to go, and by then it was weird. And by the time tried to make a couple of calls, but by the time I'd done that, about 6 or 7 minutes later, one of our facilities guys, Jackson, pulled up, and then shortly after him, Jim Nigro pulled up, and they took over. And I was very, very grateful that to see their faces, because I was so worried about the fact that there were people in the neighborhood that were hearing all this, and that it was probably waking them up. And I just didn't want that for folks. But then the power came on, and the team came in and got the school going, and we ended up doing the late start, but because there was just too many things that still had to come up to snuff by the time the staff and the kids got in, but it worked out okay. So, and I tell you, my philosophy and I don't mind sharing this, and if other people hear it, that's just fine. My philosophy is I like to make one decision on school late starts and closures. I don't tend to, over the years, I've received a lot of feedback and seen a lot of feedback of making a call on Sunday night and then changing it Monday morning or the next morning. And it's just kind of a hassle, especially for parents with daycare, making arrangements and having kids around the house. So my philosophy is make one decision and live with it, whatever that is. And if you can call it the night before, great, but plan on sticking with it in the morning if that's what you're going to do, and dealing with the fallout later. So, anyway, that's my philosophy, and it probably worked out okay this time. So anyway, I had a few things I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you were in today, Barbara, in the classroom or starting yesterday as well, but with the belonging prompt on thought exchange, and building a kind of a community definition of what belonging means for us in Lakewood as we think about school. I wanted to talk a little bit about just an update on holiday helpers. Wanted to touch base on mental health supports and kind of how we're building on that right now. And talk a little bit on my follow-up from last month about Cougar Cabinet, because we got our kids together last week for Cougar Cabinet, and that was an absolute blast, to hear from the kids. Talk a little bit about transitional kindergarten, and where that is right now as a district, because we're going to start a transitional kindergarten program starting this year. And, just an update on Stuff the Bus. So kind of a couple couple of community service things, and then some program pieces. So hopefully that's okay. And then we'll always talk about whatever you want to talk about as well. If anybody joins in what they want to talk about. So, so thought exchange. Last year, you may remember, Barbara, we did a belonging prompt in writing on paper last year, and last month I talked a little bit about this in this forum. But we found it to be a powerful experience, community-wide experience, when we looked at all the kids sharing an experience and responding to that prompt on paper, and then pulling all those papers together, really hundreds, thousands of these pieces of paper, having staff kind of go through them, identify themes, having administrators go through those same papers with staff and identify themes, and then myself and the board and our equity team looking at those prompts as well, what kids and staff wrote. Now, as a first year, that was great. It got belonging in the middle of the conversation, got us thinking and placing belonging at the center of schools. And then what we thought about this year is we really wanted to try to do that. We wanted to build on that, but do something a little different that allowed us to both engage our community over time, but do so in an efficient way that helps us to collate information more efficiently, because last year it was very difficult to collate everything kids put, because it was all on handwritten on individual pieces of paper. So I looked into this fall. I learned, I knew about this before, but this company called Thought Exchange went to a subscription base this year, so that school districts and companies or whoever subscribes can actually subscribe to their services and use them throughout the year for multiple ways. And before, it used to be that Thought Exchange would only do one. They would only do one project for you, and then you would contract with them for that, and then that would be it, and you couldn't. So this year, they moved to a subscription model, which allows us to go in and do thought exchanges over the course of the year. And in looking at that tool, knowing about it, having used it in Snohomish when I was the assistant superintendent there, found it to be a very powerful tool, because people could go in and share their thoughts around a powerful question, hopefully a powerful question, and then go in and look at and rate the thoughts of other people, so that you begin to create a sense of what is meaningful to people, and having kind of almost a community dialogue. And in some ways, it kind of does the opposite of what, say, Nextdoor does, for example. Not that there's anything wrong with Nextdoor. It's just, it builds on and creates a sense of wholeness, whereas Nextdoor is really more about the neighborhoods and how different neighborhoods define themselves, which is very powerful too in a community. So what we did was we decided to use Thought Exchange. We subscribed to it, and we decided to use Thought Exchange as a way of initiating this, building on this belonging idea, and getting a sense of what is our definition of belonging in this community when we ask the students, the staff, and parents to go into Thought Exchange and answer this question, which is really, what does it look like, sound like, and feel like for you to experience belonging in a school community? And we started that yesterday. We went through a process of refining the question with our equity team and with our administrators. We refined the whole process with those two groups, and then put it out there starting Monday for students to begin responding to, and staff. And then we sent it out to the community today for parents to respond as well. And they're all part of the same question or participant group. So students can see parents, staff can see parents, everybody can see each other's thoughts, because we really wanted it to be a whole community experience, of seeing this. And so far, after 2 days, we've had 1,216 participants. Not all of our kids have done it yet. The schools are scheduling it individually. We've got 992 thoughts. We've had 21,000. I'm going to share my screen, because you can see my report here. I can pull up how we're doing so far. We've had 21,465 ratings, and we've had and we're doing a ratio of 22 ratings for every individual that's participated so far, which is pretty much right around what you want to have, between 20 and 30 ideally. Sometimes it's 10 to 20, depending on, the exchange, but this one's gotten so far 22 ratings per person, which is awesome. I'm just showing you the dashboard that I can go in and look at as we're doing the exchange. And it's really interesting. The tool on Thought Exchange, you can go in and begin to see even now themes that are emerging, keywords that are coming through, and what mostly kids so far have said, but some staff and some parents. It creates a word cloud, so you can see what some of the keywords are that kids are using, that people are using who have engaged. This will obviously change over the next week as we have the exchange open until next Wednesday. Hopefully you have the link and you're able to go in and do that. You can go and see the thoughts that people have shared. Take a second here. There's 20 pages of thoughts so far. But you can see just highlighting, just even looking at my dashboard right now. There's responses that are ranging, even though the question didn't necessarily ask it. Kids are responding about lunch, because obviously that's an important gathering time for them, and sustenance, a little bit about bathrooms. So what I would categorize as some functional things that they're including in as responses to the questions, but we're also getting responses like this feeling like you're appreciated and thought of as an equal part of the team. We've gotten some really beautiful responses from people who have shared their thoughts. Kids, belonging should look welcoming, sound respectful, and feel comfortable. We're getting a little bit here. I think it's fine, but we kind of wish that fifth grade had a sink. But, I'm laughing, but it would be this is just something that's important to people. And honestly, we anticipated this to be kind of what would happen. We'd see a range of responses, but it's what we decided when we set this up that was an important purpose of this was not only what we got in responses, but the experience itself of being heard and giving everybody an opportunity to be heard. And being able to share their experiences and thoughts. And having the community itself be able to see those and have those elevated where they're validated in a way, they're public and they're there for people to respond to, at least in terms of ratings, not written responses. But, it looks like I can hear what other people do or say and feel like it's about other people. We got a number of comments. I could not say right now. We've got a number of comments about race and discrimination being something that kids are concerned about. We got a little bit about food and drink. There we got one about oranges even. The oranges could be better at school. But I also want to say that we decided that we were going to do this with K-12. So we've got kindergartners in here as well who have or will have kindergartners. I think for the elementary schools, we decided we would start with fifth grade, do fourth grade on Tuesday, third grade on Wednesday, and kind of move through the days. And then the kindergarten, the primary teachers take second, first in kindergarten were the focus, would do them as a class. And so they would talk about belonging. And as they talked about it, the teachers would input kids' thoughts, because you can have multiple thoughts that you put in to the question, so that each classroom teacher can put in the thoughts of the kids in their class and they will count equally. So, second grade will be Thursday and first grade Friday, I think, in kindergarten Monday. So the kindergartners aren't in here yet, but it'll be fun to see how they play, how they fit into all of this as well. Being around friends, it makes me feel comfortable. I haven't been able to go through all the comments today. Obviously, there's a lot of them, but it was just really inspiring to even just click through some of them and see what they were. The interesting thing, I'll just highlight a couple other things we can do with this. You can look at differences between the comments. kind of juxtaposes some themes differently, and then where they overlap in the middle, where there's common ground, the AI can do that. Skipping down, it can give you some sense of where some themes are clearly demonstrating a level of resonance with people and where they may be less. So kind of this heat map idea, as we get more of this through the week, it'll differentiate more in each bar. But you can just get a sense of some of the themes that are beginning to emerge that are getting rated. You can see themes here. The AI creates, identifies some themes from what the kids wrote that seem to get the highest number of stars, and then it can create reports, and I can moderate it as well. We've obviously had, as you would expect, some comments that were inappropriate, or we're identifying individual people, which the AI pulls them out immediately and then flags them for me, and I go in and moderate, decide whether or not they need to be pulled out or whether they can go in. Because sometimes the AI doesn't see something and it's not really an issue. So anyway, I'm pretty excited about this. I'm really excited about what we're going to do with it as much as the process itself, because our equity team this Thursday is going to be talking about possibly setting up a community forum, and they're going to talk about this. So I can't say what it's going to look like. I'm gone Thursday to the WASDA conference, but Brian Touton is going to facilitate that group, and they're going to talk about what it would look like to have a community forum in January, look at these results and talk about what they tell us and how we might think about doing another thought exchange that goes deeper into some of these themes and gets more action oriented as we move through the year, because we want to continue to go deeper and have this shape how we actually function as a district, and with staff, with students, and with parents. One of the other things that was kind of neat was we got some responses in multiple languages today. I think I saw before this, we had 13 responses in Spanish, and we had 4 in Russian, and a few in Ukraine, 1 or 2 in Ukrainian, and there were a couple others as well. So I think 1 in Chinese, and it was really neat. So it's just going to be great to see how all this plays out and how we build on it as a community together, wrapping around the school. So that's one of our purposes behind this. What do you have any questions about it or thoughts that you would like to share?
I actually have participated in it. I put my thoughts in yesterday, and then I've been doing a lot of ratings, just mostly because I want to see what the comments are.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are some of them are pretty far out there. It looks like some of them are simply students who were told they needed to do it or something, maybe, like non-answers, really. But yeah, some of it's been kind of interesting, bringing up, while it wasn't necessarily set up to bring up specific issues, it does bring those out. And I found it a little surprising, the number of students saying the same kinds of comments, like the 5th grade bathrooms and sink kind of thing, or the food, there were some themes that kind of like seemed like there's a lot of different people, but I like the general idea. I think that there might have been for a lot of the students, particularly, I think the wording of the question might have been confusing to them. Like they're not really sure how to answer it. So hopefully, especially with the younger kids, the teachers will be able to provide more guidance and what they're looking for, direct the conversation more. But I feel like maybe the 5th graders were maybe a little uncertain what exactly they were looking for, but that's all. It was just it's interesting to see, though. I was surprised at the number of responses already, actually.
It was really, I was actually surprised too, considering we had kind of layered how the grades were, at least the elementary grades were doing it. But yeah, it was good to see. And I think I think what we'll see is as we get, if we continue to do this over the years in Lakewood, it may become more something that kids become accustomed to. I think part of it right now is we've kind of unleashed the Kraken in a way, in a positive way, and that kids are, somebody's listening and they're asking, and I'm going to take this opportunity to share what I'm thinking. So I hope and I'm glad of that. So, yeah. So, yeah, in your point about the question is well taken. We had a lot of discussion about that, and we're curious to see how it would play out. So, yeah, along the same lines, I'll just kind of transition into Cougar Cabinet. We had our Cougar Cabinet last Wednesday, and you were probably in classroom Wednesday too, because I know you're in a lot. But we had our 5th through 12th graders who had wanted to be part of Cougar Cabinet, which is our, I'm going to call it kind of an advisory group of kids who wanted to have a voice in the governance of our district. And as I had shared before, everybody who wanted to be in it was in it. So we kind of let everyone do it. There wasn't a selection process or any of that. And so what we wound up having is we had a lot of elementary school kids show up. I mean, we had 28 kids from Lakewood Elementary School.
Wow.
And we had, I want to say probably about 15 between the high school and the middle school, probably about 12 to 15 kids. And then everybody else was elementary school. So what I was nervous about going into the meeting was that our high school kids would feel a bit overwhelmed with all the younger kids in the group, because it was actually 4th and 5th grade. I said 5th through 12th. It was 4th through 12th. And what we got from the kids who were there, the older kids that were there, the secondary students, was they loved it. Okay. They really enjoyed it. They were the leaders at the table because they had a lot of elementary school kids at there. Each table had 4 or 5 kids. And so we tended to have, in a lot of cases, 1 or 2 high school or middle school kids at a table. We organized them by the elementary school they originally attended or were currently attending if they were elementary now, so that we could mix groups a little bit, around and then get to know each other. It was really more of a opportunity to get to know each other. We played a game, 3, 2, 1, I call it, and you had to find people who had, 3 people who had pets and, that kind of thing. And they had a fun time with that. And then, unfortunately, the prizes I was giving out hadn't come in from Amazon yet. So I'm going to have to give them out next month. We had a delayed gratification there, but we did ask kids what's been the most exciting thing or things that have happened to you since the start of the school year, what made them stand out. And they talked at tables and took notes and, kind of along the same lines as the belonging prompt, wanted to give kids an opportunity to at least this initial time, just have a general question that they kind of we're going to be able to talk about with their own experience. We'll get more specific as we get further into the year with this, but just some things my secretary, Renee, kind of framed it as pros and cons. What are some good things that have happened and some not so good things? And she just organized it that way. That was not how we organized the question, but you can get a sense of what kids were talking about, the Halloween parade, the homecoming parade. One student said Cougar Cabinet, or maybe some students said Cougar Cabinet. They were really excited about it. I got to say, they were so excited. Assemblies, I don't know why they said longer lunch, but that's probably something they want. But you can just get an idea that you get a snack. There's just things that the kids liked about since the start of school, and then some things. So some of them liked the lunches. Some of them didn't, so there was some things about fighting, which we know has happened, not as much as last year, but nonetheless, it's still something that's very impactful that's happened at many of our schools this year, and some cases multiple times. Some bad words, language. So you can get an idea of what some of the things are that they shared. But it was an hour and we got done right on probably at about the 55-minute mark, and got kids back to their schools on the buses, and it really went well. and I have some kids who plan it with me. I've got our board reps, Karsten Brost and Kiana Schroeder, and then Mia Barber, who's not a board rep, but a student leader at the high school, had indicated an interest. The four of us plan these together, and they co-facilitate with me. So it's awesome having kids actually helping me to lead the process. So just another way we can amplify students' voices in the district and build a closer connection between them and me and the school board, which I think is really an important thing that we've been missing for a long time. So that's my update there. Had you heard anything, or kids said anything to you, Barbara?
I haven't actually heard anyone say anything about the cabinet. I don't remember where I was working, but that group, it wasn't something that I encountered. So,
Yeah.
I haven't actually come across any students saying that they participated in that or anything like that. But I think it's a great concept. I think when I was a student, I would have loved to be able to, have that forum to be able to, just the fact that they have an opportunity that their voices can be heard, I think is a huge factor for a lot of students.
Yeah. Well, I know I loved it, and the board, the kids that I was facilitating with loved it, and a number of the high schoolers and middle schoolers come up and say they really enjoyed it, which, like I said at the beginning, was my biggest worry, was they'd feel a little. And I told them the next, we're not going to sit in mixed groups all the time. Sometimes we'll sit with age, the age bands that you're in, and get your feedback, allow you to reflect and provide input in the groups that you're sharing your schools with. So that'll be fun to see. And I don't know how we're going to organize the next meeting, but the kids and I are going to plan it the first week in December. So yeah, so that's the Cougar Cabinet. Some highlights I just wanted to touch on. One other thing I think that's really important and again, I'm always glad when you're on this, Barbara, because this is an important priority in our district. And I encourage you to share with people when you talk to them. We're really making a commitment to building our early learning program up in Lakewood. That's been what I would describe as a weak spot in our programs. Our programming has been, our attention to early learning in the district. And so there's a couple of things that are happening there. One of them that is the biggest change is that we're starting a transitional kindergarten this next year to supplement the developmental preschool and the ECAP program that we have in our district as well. And the transitional kindergarten is for typically developing students for the most part. It's a general education program. Under the law, it has to include 30% students on IEPs and 70% of the kids in Gen Ed who don't have IEPs. It's more of an in-between program than what we offer right now. And it can max out at around 17 kids, because preschool obviously has to be smaller when we've got those little kids who are just transitioning into being in school. And what we're doing is the focus is under this program is students who don't qualify for ECAP, that has certain income requirements, who don't necessarily qualify in most cases for the developmental preschool, with the exception of kids who are on IEPs, that 30%, and kids who haven't had previous experience in daycares or preschools in the community. So it really kind of, how we're setting this up is it's very much sits in a niche right now that does not compete with the community daycares and with the community preschools that we have that are functioning in the community right now, particularly in Smoky Point. But we don't actually have that many preschools and daycares in our area, which is really surprising to people when they hear we've really only got about 5, and they're limited in the capacity of the students that they can take. And so we're really glad to be able to offer this need. We got a $92,000 grant from the state to be able to support for this year, to support it. It's going to start January 31st, 2023. So this coming January 31st. That grant will pay for the teacher, and it'll pay for some curriculum and supplies. And then we also will get the apportionment for any new students that we have come in, which will help fund the program. And then we're using some ESSER funds that have been approved by the state for us to be able to put in a preschool playground equipment off the corner of Lakewood Elementary. This is Lakewood Elementary School. And what we're doing with the portables, and this is the second part that's exciting, is when we put that portable in, the double classroom portable, we're able to move a couple of classrooms from LES in the building out to the portable. And we're able to move the developmental preschool that's at English Crossing right now. We'll be able to move that over to Lakewood Elementary School. And with the TK, with the transitional kindergarten, we will for the first time have all of our programs in the same wing of the building. And we'll be able to actually start working on building a continuum of services where our developmental preschool and our transitional kindergarten will be able to share kids and have kids moving through the different classrooms for different experiences, which is really powerful because it will provide our developmental preschool kids with opportunities to be in classrooms in a gen ed setting as well, which is part of what we need to provide both ethically and legally for the students in those programs. And so we're really excited about it. We've got a ton of work to do. We've got a preschool committee that has been meeting and planning this, and we've been working closely with ESD 189. They have their preschool specialists that come down and help facilitate, Ray Allen being one of them. There's a couple of the specialists up there that are coming down helping to facilitate those meetings with Kristen Cortez and Dale Leach. So we've got a good, strong leadership team there that's been working through a timeline and an implementation process so that we, over time, develop a vision, program articulation for preschool, and then a continuum of services. And so we kind of got a lot of plates spinning right now with that, with the priority being getting the transitional kindergarten off the ground by January 31st. And that's going to be a big shift for us, and we think a really good one that's going to meet a lot of kids, at least more kids' needs in our community than we've been able to meet so far, in previous years. So, and the applications for that are going to be due by January 9th for those who want to apply. And that's reflected on this. We're going to be putting out a news release and a communication with families about that. We already have the webpage up and running with an application form online for people to complete and turn in so that we can start identifying kids to be in the program. We still have to hire a teacher. Small thing, but we're excited about it. That's the other big programmatic thing I wanted to make sure I touched on tonight. Couple other updates. We've got our holiday helpers going right now. Let's see. Holiday helpers. We have 151. We have 151 individuals who have submitted Christmas wish lists for the adoption, kind of basically for the holiday helpers adoption program. So we've got lots of people 151 people who have submitted their wish lists. We've reached out to staff and community. And people who are interested, there is a flyer which I'm happy to share here, and I'm going to put that on my screen so that you and anyone who tunes in later can see it. If anybody wants to contribute to holiday helpers or buy gifts, you can reach out to Amy Verellen Grubbs at Holiday Helper at Lakewood at our usual email suffix. If anybody emails Amy, that's fine too. I know she won't reject the email. She'll be happy to hear from people who want to participate. We are going to be setting up a wish list, I believe, kind of a wish list on Amazon, which we will provide people who want to contribute to, we'll provide people with that link so they can go in and buy a gift or whatever from that list once we have it set up. So, and Amy was working on that when I talked to her today. So far, we've got 35 people or groups that have reached out to adopt a student or family and want to purchase from the wish list. So if anybody out there wants to adopt a family or a student, please let Amy know and she will get back to you and get you set up. Also wanted to just report out on Stuff the Bus this last weekend. Our bus drivers, there's the spouses of the people who showed up to stuff the bus. I want to say it was over in Smoky Point. I know that. National Honor Society students came, helped. We had cheerleaders who came and helped. And they collected, people donated, get this, 3,972, almost 2 tons of food this last weekend, and $400 in gift cards, which was donated to the Arlington and Marysville food banks. So we're really excited about that as well, and glad that, I mean, I think that was a record according to Sherry Sandquist, that was more than the last time that we did it pre-COVID. So which was our highest amount at that point. So lots of generous people in the Lakewood community. We know that, and are thankful for the staff and the families and the parents and the kids who all have made already are making a difference this holiday season. So, and we can tell from the thought exchange, just to bring this full circle, how much we have, how wonderful our kids are and Lakewood School District, and how much we have to be thankful for. So that is my chat tonight as far as what I brought. Is there anything you wanted to share? Any questions you had, Barbara, or that you've heard from other people that you think I should speak to tonight?
Boy, I have a
Be the voice of Lakewood tonight.
I don't really have much to say. Normally I do, but I would say that from my personal experience, I'm seeing some great improvements this year compared to where we were a year ago.
Yeah.
Students are making progress in terms of, there's a lot of difficulty returning, so just socially and emotionally, I'm very thankful that there's been so much focus this year on helping these students and connecting them with mental health resources, providing, more counselors. Like, I'm still hearing from students a lot about how much it is needed and how they are still struggling. But I feel like they're having these resources has been a huge help for a lot of students.
Good.
And I'm seeing the tide churning, the general feeling, it just feels like we're improving. We're kind of going up.
We're on the upward swing.
On the upward swing. That's it. Yes.
Good.
So I'm very thankful for that. I know that we still have a lot to do, and I love, we're hearing those things in the exchange, and I hear it from students on a regular basis, the frustration of, students being mean and not welcoming or different things, like it's kind of an ongoing issue in schools in general. But I feel like we're definitely making progress, that people are responding. So I think we're going up. Good.
Well, I was just as your statement about mental health reminded me there was one more update that I wanted to give tonight. Now I can't find what I was going to share. We're actually, I'll just keep it general. We are identified a screener, and I'd written the name of the screener down. Now I don't have the paper that I'd written it down on, but we've identified a universal screener for behavioral health, which is going to be a screener that we're still in the process of finalizing the implementation of that, what the plan is around implementation, but basically it's a screener that we're going to be giving to our students, which will allow us to identify both strengths and areas of need with kids who, with our students, so that we can plan tier 1 kind of structures and supports school-wide and district-wide for kids to help build, to address some of the needs that the screener reveals, but also to help us to work with students and parents to identify needs that are identified where we may have to provide individual supports as well. And we're in the process of identifying that assessment right now. It of course involves getting consent from parents, and it's something that's, the data that we get is owned by the district, so it's not something that's shared within a company or is sold. It's something that is contained within our own district records, basically our assessment records. And so we're really excited about the idea of being able to have some data points that we're going to be able to look at that will help us to identify needs and target the kind of resources and strategies that are going to help to make school a better place for our kids to come every day, and to develop the programs and develop the types of interventions that we know we need to have for kids so that they feel successful and grow, and have what they need. We all need something,
So when you're saying a screener, do you mean like you would survey the students, or is it like
No,
if a student comes into the
actually-
counseling center, they're given it, or
It's
like
an individual. It's an individual assessment that students would be given district-wide. It can be given at a grade level, and it can be given at different points in the year, so we can monitor growth. It's another assessment tool that assesses social emotional well-being amongst our students.
But it's something like that students would be given to fill out. Is that what
It would be on a computer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would answer some questions. It takes about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes to do. But it provides some important data that our leadership teams in the buildings can look at and say, here are some priorities we want to pursue as a school, because it can be broken down by school, it can be broken down district-wide, but then individual results can also come back to counselors where we see there may be needs for individual students that we want to address, so that we can make sure that we respond quickly and target the kind of support that kids need, but doing it in a way that builds on strengths and doesn't look at deficits. Because what we know works best with human beings is not to problematize them and to say there's something wrong with you, but to say, here are the things that we know you do well. How can we build on these so that you feel better about being in school and get the kinds of things, have the kinds of experiences that you need to have to continue to grow. And so I know that's very important to me. It's very important to the board that's how we approach the work that's ahead, and not to come at this from the standpoint that we're going to fix children, because none of us likes to be fixed. It's not a very humanizing thing if somebody tell you, I'm here to fix you. So that's another. I just got out of the mental health leadership team this afternoon. We talked about this, and now I'm drawing a blank on the name of the screener, and Amy Verellen Grubbs is going to say, how could you forget? It was an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, and here you've forgotten already. So anyway, that's what we're doing. That's what we're up to. There'll be more news to come, and all this information will come out to families, and they'll all know, because before we do anything with kids, we're going to have to get consent, and that's going to be a very transparent process, as is our custom and as our commitment in this district. So thank you for bringing that up. That was a good reminder. Well, I think I just appreciate you being on, Barbara. It's good to talk to you. You can be the face of Lakewood this evening and in this video, and we'll post it, and maybe a few more people will hear a little bit about what's going on. So thank you. And
all right.
I'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I'll be
All
around.
right.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.